Hello there, Chick Chat. We're back to talk about Teen Mom episode 11. I think there's only a couple more episodes.
I think we're wrapping up here pretty soon, I would guess, but this episode was kind of dry, so hopefully we're winding up to a good ending.
Hopefully we're winding up to something, but we start in the hospital, so it's not very good.
But we also start off with RuPaul, so.
Yeah, he's making his return quite early in the episode. Earliest that we've seen him in the recap.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, RuPaul, for being a recurring subscriber.
Reoccurring figure. Ryder is in the hospital. She's been having issues with her heart. She hasn't been feeling very good, and because of her VLCAD, it's better to be safe than sorry.
I don't know much about it, but it does sound like whenever she's sick, especially if she's not eating or if she's vomiting or something like that, then she's probably going to have to go to the hospital because she can't fast with this diagnosis. It doesn't seem like there's anything dire going on, just that they're monitoring her. Next time that we see Cheyenne, they're get packing up and they're on their way home for some rest.
She is upset with Corey that he's not more present when it comes to these hospital visits in her prom 80s.
Pam Anderson updo, yeah. And it seems like she kept this updo going for quite a little while. I mean, she's cute in it. I like it, but it's a lot different than what we're used to seeing Cheyenne do with her hair.
It's very like politician, maybe 50s Stepford wife.
Yeah, it was serious but also sexy. I don't know, I'm confused, but I like it. It's all the things, I guess.
It's different, definitely.
It's definitely getting me going.
It's provocative.
It's very provocative. As soon as she said I was annoyed that Corey wasn't there and he didn't stay longer, right away in my head, I'm like, well, he has 2 other kids. He's got another lady. They might have other things going on. It doesn't seem like this is an emergency, more like a monitoring type of situation. But then I hear that Taylor's out of town with the kids and he's just sitting at home twiddling his thumbs. He can't be there.
Well, I think either way, he could probably still be there if one of his kids is in the hospital.
But I could just like justify it more, I guess, if he had a whole other household that depends on him too.
True. I guess I could see both parties, as Briana would say. I don't know. I don't know if this is just one of those tactics, though. Like, you know how before Corey let us know that the one argument wasn't a real argument. So it could be one of those. I don't know.
He does talk about how Teen Mom sort of tries to use himself as like a drama maker because there's really not a lot going on, especially in the co-parenting relationship. They do seem to really get along and communicate well. So who knows how serious this really is, or if this is just something Cheyenne is filming about, because she ain't even going to bring it to his attention.
If it's something that's bothering her, she should. If she feels as if maybe Corey's putting the other kids' needs before Ryder's. It doesn't really take much to just sit in the hospital for a little while, maybe take some shifts.
That's what I was thinking. Cheyenne should not just be responsible for being there. She also has another child and also has a family that depends on her. And even if she's willing to be there 90% of the time, don't you think this woman might want to stop at home and take a shower, eat a meal? I don't know how long Ryder was in the hospital, but it seemed like at least a day or more, at least overnight. So definitely agree. Corey should have been there and he should have been there more. But I also don't know what kind of things they have that are like what.
When they live, 5 minutes from each other or something?
Do they?
Yeah, they live really close, remember?
That's dumb.
Yeah, because Ryder was trying to walk there.
We
saw them moving in.
Yes, I forgot about that. Cheyenne's mom is just like my mom. In this case, anytime I complain about my husband, she's like, well, that's just men. They're just stupid. Basically, she doesn't actually say it like that. She's nicer than that, but she's just always like, that's just what it is. You just got to really explain things. Like, leave me alone. We all know we've explained things enough.
We're left on the cliffhanger of if she's going to tell Corey whether or not she feels he could be doing better or not.
I think towards the end, she does ultimately decide not to bring up this issue with him, but I think she's going to try to take her mom's advice about if something happens in the future that she's going to be very explicit with him, that she wants him to be there X amount of hours or whatever. And I don't know how much more explicit you can get. Your child's in the hospital. You should be there when you can. Maybe not all the time, but when you can. You probably shouldn't just be sitting at home, especially when your other family is somewhere else. That part was just, that baffled me. Cheyenne did say ultimately too that Corey's a good dad and she doesn't want to cause problems in their relationship that aren't necessary. They got through the situation just fine. And in the future, she's just going to try to ask this man in the moment.
Somehow, I'm sitting here wondering how Cheyenne got in almost every damn episode this season.
Me too. I feel like she had a contract to be in every single episode because I think there's only 1 or maybe 2 that she hasn't been in. And she has had such dry, bland storylines.
Nothing
I know she's
burgers.
going through trying to create life and make a baby, but even that storyline could have been an episode, right? We went and got tested, and this is what we're working on.
This is what we got.
On to another dry plant.
Another one. Another dry story.
I feel like Leah is just, I know we've talked about this a lot, but just more and more, it's so obvious that she like stages her filming so much. It just does not feel like her life. All of her scenes end with whatever pre-scripted things she said and fed to her children, and then it's just silent in there. They're not even talking to each other off the cuff or nothing. It's just here's the script, and then we sit there and we stare at each other.
Yep. And they're still painting this damn thing down here. Weren't they painting this
Been
before?
working on this basement since she moved down here. What's it for? I mean, it looks so bare down there too. It just looks like a finished big room. What is the point of painting it? And I don't know, whatever.
Whatever. She had to get Victoria over here to help her, but
Victoria was pissed.
Leah was getting mad when Victoria was like, "What are we gonna do about Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
Is Jeremy gonna have his girlfriend?" And Leah's like, "I don't know. Are they married or what?" Well, you should know more than me.
She's like, why would I know? That's not my business.
They were not having it with each other.
Yeah, I don't know if they got into an argument before they decided to film or something, but yeah, this was not a pleasant conversation. It was not about pleasant topics, but it happened and we witnessed
It
it.
was all set up for this PSA about prescription medications.
Wow, drugs.
Now Allie needs to go to the hospital because she's got this thing poking out of her wrist. I'm hoping that you got some answers from this episode.
Yeah, I don't know if mine's necessarily a cyst, so I don't think so. Because I feel like I couldn't have had a cyst since I was a child.
Who's
right?
to know?
Who's to know? I guess I should ask my husband, who's a nurse, but
Possible.
it's still there.
I'm sure it's still there.
It's been there.
Don't sound like they go away on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. See, I don't want to tell my husband because then he's gonna just want to.
Doesn't he know it? Doesn't
He
see
does,
it?
but then he's gonna want to stick needles in it and do it himself. He's a weird.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, either way, the Addie's not going that route, but her parents are going to be in the same waiting room together, which
This
is what the whole episode is
lady.
about. Is possible
That's
suspect?
the girlfriend wife.
Oh, could be. Could be.
It is. They walked in together.
Yep.
When Adeline got called, she stayed in the waiting room and Jeremy came. So I can appreciate why Leah was so confused as to why this woman was even present because, of course, she's not going to come back with them. But why come and sit in the waiting room for 2 hours? For what?
Just to be with Jeremy. It's like you ain't got nothing better to do for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Maybe a craft or something.
Is Addie his only kid?
I believe so.
Okay. Addie did a good job in surgery. It seems like everything was successful. So she has a hard cast on. So she's going to have that on for a little bit. If they put a hard cast on, they don't just cut that off the next day. I mean, they would just give her a brace or something. So
Looks like a gnarly little procedure. She had a few questions about the prescriptions, and Leah, of course, had to project, "We have a prescription for you, but only if you truly need it." Not every one of your girls, if they just take these when they are having a surgery or something like that, is going to turn just because you give them you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like she's projecting.
I think she is a lot. And I think she realized that herself even towards the end of the conversation with her daughter, because I understand why Leah would want to warn them about especially prescription pain medication. Addiction is something that is genetic. Part of it is genetic, and we see that too with Leah and her family. And so I think that there is an increased risk for all of Leah's children. However, I think asking this 10-year-old to wait until she's in excruciating pain to take anything other than a Tylenol when she has a whole
when Leah will go fill it. That's when Leah will go fill it.
I know. Well, see, part of me supports that, right? Because I don't think it's a good idea for Leah to have that kind of medication just sitting around in her house for a lot of reasons, but also for herself. She is a recovering addict, and I think sometimes just having that stuff around can be triggering in itself. So I can see not wanting to fill it. I can see not wanting to have her kids have access in any kind of way to it, even though we'd hope it get stored properly, and I'm sure Leah will do a whole PSA about that for us as well. Yes, before she will even go fill it, her daughter has to be in excruciating pain, and it's giving Jade's mom after her BBL. This girl's gonna be in so much pain, and then Leah's gonna be like, I can't find it.
No, these girls are going to be almost afraid of prescription pain medicine.
I think so. Yes, I think she's being a little overzealous with talking about side effects. Addiction, I don't think, is a side effect of medication. I think it's a risk when you take medication, but I don't think it's a side effect per se. And so I think to say that addiction is equal of a side effect as nausea, I think is going to confuse them a little bit and make them really scared. And what worries me is that Addie or any of her kids could be truly in a lot of pain and not tell their mom about it because they don't want to take these pills, because they want to be proud of them, right? For not having to take these horrible, scary things. On one hand, I can see Leah really educating her children, especially from a young age. I come from a family that struggles with addiction, and my mom never skipped an opportunity to educate me about addiction and what things were and what they could do to me and all of that. And I'm very grateful for that, because I made lots of shady decisions as a teenager. And thank God I had the information that I did, or I would have done all the things. I'm glad she's doing this. And at the same time, I think she is scaring her children in the medical field. Addiction and the medical field are not as interlinked as they are in Leah's head.
Addiction is a side effect from a certain point of view.
In Leah's head, but not in the real world.
From a certain point of view.
From Leah's point of view.
Yeah, side effect. Yeah. Nausea, addiction.
Nausea, addiction, vomiting, drowsiness.
The regular stuff.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I think she's doing a whole lot of projecting. I'm glad that she's doing this educating. I'm not saying it's not necessary, but I think she needs to chill out.
Leah, she can't really chill out for too long. Not about her girls.
Not about the girls. It's not when there's an opportunity for a PSA, especially not about prescription pain medication. This is her bread and butter. So
I was worried about the dad for a second when it was showing me the opening, and then I was remember, oh yeah, Addie's got something with her hand again.
The reason they showed us that is because it's the same damn theme. Just Leah projecting all her fear all over everybody.
Just trying to wrap it into one glorious PSA.
Yeah, they should have done this in one episode for her.
They've been spacing her out a little.
Yeah, I need it because she just gives me nothing.
Not much there, nothing. She don't show us dating or nothing.
None of it. It's a shame.
No, she can't talk about Jalen or nothing. To Ashley, who this episode, really, we only saw her have this confrontation with her mom. She texts her old school style, like, you want to meet up?
Yeah, tell me when and where.
I want to talk. They're in public, which was a good step, but
it was actually, you're right.
Was a good first step, was to keep it public. And we're getting a lot of these, like this shot here, love is blind through the bushes.
Yes, we got a lot of that in Bree's story too. But yeah, I think they both tried in this conversation. Obviously, I think most of our viewers, watch the episode. So obviously we all know it went left, as things usually go left with Ashley and her mom when they're in disagreement. But they were trying to at least plead their own cases, hear each other out. I'm not sure, but they were trying to explain themselves to each other. And especially Ashley's mom, again, was just not having it. Every time Ashley said something, well, thank you then. Is that what you want, is a thank you? And then Ashley said she didn't need a thank you. So then T was like, fine, I'm not even going to admit to the fact that you helped me anymore. Just wild. This whole thing, I can see why Ashley needs a little break from her mom.
Even though their relationship did not go anywhere during this episode, I learned quite a bit. I learned that there was a father involved, staying with the sister. So we did get some answers on that.
When I heard that the father was involved, because I know we've been wondering about who else was taking care of her sister. So we learned about that. And then I was like, man, I don't feel like I've really ever heard of Ashley's dad. So I Googled him a little bit, and I read some article about her talking about her experiences with her dad. I guess that he also suffers from addiction and that he has been financially helpful in their lives, but not really emotionally available for them. So that's kind of her backstory with her dad. I didn't know that. I'm sure that they covered that somewhere somehow, but I just forgot about it, I assume. And I also learned in the process of that Barr 2 weeks ago got released from jail. I did not know that. And like 2 days to a week ago, I can't remember the exact dates, their divorce was finally finalized. So there's some updates for Ashley's life. She's finally out of this predicament.
She was able to refile, and all was not lost.
Right. But she was worried that it was going to be well into next year that she'd be able to get her divorce. And we're sitting here in April. Her fears came true.
It's kind of well into
this year.
Yeah, this is the year.
Yeah. No, but I think she was sitting in like November around that.
Right.
They were talking about Thanksgiving. So
well into next year, meaning 2025.
I know, but I still think she was talking about February.
Possible.
She got a slow churning situation going on here.
Like banking butter.
Yes. But this talk, not so much slow churning. It goes pretty quickly. They get pretty angry with each other again. I don't get Ashley's mom's perspective with this particular argument. I've only been back for a couple of days. I know that everyone's kind of downplaying. She went on a cruise on a boat on a vacation. She went there to work. She probably was a little tired, whatever. But you showed up to a court date. You rode in a car and you walked in a building and then you walked back out. And so I totally get Ashley's perspective of why are you making this thing that's personal to me about you? I'm entitled to my emotions about it. Why do you have to be offended by the fact that I have an emotion? That doesn't make any sense. And I agree. Ashley tells her mom that if she's not going to take some time to acknowledge what Ashley has done for her sister while she was away on this boat, then she's going to have to walk away from this conversation once again. And T don't care. She says she feels blindsided, belittled. She's not going to stand here and say thank you, especially when she already said thank you. And Ashley said she didn't need a thank you.
Bunch of word salad.
They talked a lot, and it was hard for me to even take notes on what they were saying to each other. It was a whole lot of you support, but you don't support, but I support.
Another one of those nothing burgers for me.
Yeah, they decided to get up and walk away. You know, they're in public this time, so they don't want to be acting a fool in front of people. They bid each other good day, and then they both walk, it seems like from separate places back to the same parking lot in the front of the building.
There will be no Thanksgiving dinner.
There will be no Thanksgiving dinner. Ashley does a little confessional before the interaction that happens in the parking lot and says that she does not have a problem with Holly seeing her mom, but that she doesn't want to see her mom for a little while anymore, and that her mom has some serious problems taking accountability. And I tend to agree. I can't say that she's wrong about that.
I can't either.
And then we get this one, which left me cackling.
Yes, they're going to have to dig pretty deep to find that place that Ashley is referring to.
It made me laugh so hard because, you know, they showed that in the preview and they showed the first part of what she said in the preview, but I wasn't expecting this part of it. So I just lost it. Made my husband watch it, actually. I just rewound it real quick and I was like, listen to these two ladies, they're arguing. And he just heard the part in the front of the parking lot. And he's laughing. And then he stops laughing for a minute. And I was like, you know, she's talking about her mom. And he starts laughing again.
That was the funniest part.
Yeah, luckily her mom did not hear that. She at least waits till he is out of the vicinity to let it rip. So we'll see what T thinks.
Now we're up to see Mackenzie, who has some interesting news for us this episode. I mean, obviously we find out, of course, that she is for sure pregnant. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get a continuation from last episode. I wanted to know what happened. Did they tell everybody at the party?
That's what I want to know. Did they just walk out like nothing happened, told everyone to go home? What did they do?
Yeah, I want to know because I just don't know what I would do in that situation. So I just want to know what she did. Not that I would listen to it because Mackenzie tends to be chaotic, but I'm just curious and I'm sad that I don't know. But we also found out some other news. I know last episode you and I were trying to figure out if it goes further along or the process is further along with IVF. And in the beginning, she does say that she was inseminated 6 days ago. And so that means that she was 4 weeks along or something like that. So it does go along much faster. And I think I misspoke last episode too. I think I put zygotes and embryos in the wrong order.
I don't think people are actually getting health advice from us.
Well, just to correct the record in case people are listening.
Correct the record.
Yes, but don't take your health advice from Chick Chat, please.
No, don't.
Or
please.
Mackenzie. And not your lawyer advice either.
Definitely don't get lawyers from Mackenzie. Now that she's pregnant, she's thinking about the fact that if something were to happen to her, that her other kids would go back to Jersh because that's kind of what they have in place.
Yeah.
They have this custody arrangement where he sees them for a couple weeks a year, but he doesn't know anything about them. He doesn't know where they go to school. He doesn't know their doctors. He knows absolutely nothing. Rightfully, she would prefer her kids to go to Kaz if something happens to her, which I don't blame her. He seems to have stepped up much more than their actual father has, which says a lot. Kaz seems to be okay with whatever she wants.
It's clear that he is a huge part of Mackenzie's family and of the parenting and of the structure that goes on in their household. So I just think it's cool that he can be such a calming presence, but at the same time really provide a lot of real structure that I think we all know that Mackenzie and her family has needed for a long time.
And bless him, because that little montage where they showed Jaxie trying to text her dad, it's just sad. It's just sad how these kids have been treated by their dad. So
I really wonder if Josh would let Kaz adopt these kids, because that would be the easiest route, I think, to what she's trying to get accomplished. And he's not around. I think her response to the lawyer was pretty spot on and accurate. He's already allowing this other guy to parent his children. So why not?
In a previous episode where Brianna told her, basically, you don't want to poke the bear if nothing's happening, then maybe you don't need to worry about that. But she decides to go over to a lawyer and at least talk about her options. And she doesn't get the meeting she signed up for.
She does not. I mean, I think
I
this
saw that.
lawyer knew the whole time when she was talking that Mackenzie wasn't divorced, but I think she was just waiting to see if there was some information that maybe she didn't have access to. But she found out essentially that Mackenzie has a parenting plan that's signed by a judge in the system, but that her divorce that she drew up online and gave to some stranger apparently to file is not in the system. So she is told she's not divorced. That was wild to me.
It was wild
And
to
to
her
her.
too. She
Yeah.
was shook. She's pregnant now with Kaz's children. She went through IVF and everything just to find out this whole time she's not divorced. And I remember her getting those papers. I don't know if that's a scene that was set up or something at this point, but
Could
she
have been a
mentioned,
setup, and now she's kind of stuck in it that it was a setup
yeah,
and wasn't real.
because for some reason she's like, oh, I got these papers in my file cabinet. But when she's talking to Cass later, she's like, they want these papers to prove that I'm
Yeah.
divorced. Well, they
Yeah.
should just be in your file cabinet, right? I mean, we saw
It
you get
shows
them.
her at the end looking through a filing cabinet, and it's not as if she just pulls it out right away, like she knows exactly where it is. And it does seem like, at least in the lawyer's office, she's kind of acting like, oh, I know exactly where it is, I just didn't bring it. And she explains it to Kaz sort of the same way. I didn't bring it because it was supposed to be online, but I have it. But if I don't have it, then we need to get a real divorce with real lawyers. And also, even if I do have it, we're not sure if it's legitimate because of the way that it was done.
Oof.
Speaking of that moment, this is the face.
I'm engaged to a married woman?
Why did he kind of look excited?
He thought that was a little funny, I think.
He probably
Bless
has a
him.
nervous laugh like me. I smile and laugh when I'm really nervous, and this probably made him very nervous.
That's funny that he goes to, I'm engaged. This woman is pregnant. She's past your engagement. You're having babies with a
you've
married woman.
inseminated
According to
children.
Louisiana law, that baby
Louisiana law.
is
Louisiana law. We might have a whole Gypsy segment for Mackenzie.
yeah, according to Louisiana law, that baby's at Anderson for 300 days.
That baby is an Anderson for 300 days. We can start calling her Gypkenzie.
Oh my gosh, imagine if they would have tried to get married and then just to find out years down the line that their marriage was null and void, basically.
Right. You can't get another marriage certificate if you're married. They probably would have planned a whole wedding, and then you can't even really file for your marriage license until right before you want to get married. And then they would have been like, nah, you can't.
Maybe it's different because she had the first marriage in Oklahoma, though.
I mean, doubtful, but maybe it's different because it's an Anderson.
Maybe it's an Anderson.
No idea. But
Anyways.
that's where we leave things pretty much with Mackenzie. At the very end of the episode where they always show a couple little clips montage, we do see her looking through some filing cabinets. So I'm very hopeful that maybe they just wanted this to kind of be a storyline arc, that this is very dramatic because it is very dramatic, and she's going to find the paper. And maybe there was just an error in getting the paper in the system. And it seems like that paper exists and it is signed by the judge, like it's finalized, then it can just be put in the system because her stuff is finalized. It's just not online type of thing. But if she can't find that paper, or it's not signed by the judge, or it's not finalized in some way, then she is going to start all the way over.
You can't really figure out the parenting plan for these kids if she's still married to their father. So
She has a legal parenting plan, though. That's the thing. So the parenting plan is in the system. It's legal. It's signed by a judge. It's the divorce that's not. She's going to have to adjust this parenting plan, which is funny because that's the only thing that's legal. So that's going to have to for sure be reopened. It'd almost be better if her divorce was straight up and her parenting plan was messed up because she's already about to amend that.
yeah, I guess to be continued with all that.
That is. So on to another sad story here. We got Bree.
Another person who needs a piece of paper.
Yeah, and this episode was called something like Don't Have a Baby with a Stranger. And I was sure that they were talking about Bree referring to Lewis. But it was actually Mackenzie talking to the lawyer, I think, or somebody about Jersh.
That man is also a stranger. There are many strangers in
Or
this.
no, it was Cheyenne talking about Corey. Sorry.
Oh,
Cheyenne told her mom, don't have babies with strangers. And you know what? Cheyenne and Corey have the best co-parenting relationship out of all these people. So
yeah, I think you're all right, Cheyenne.
I think she's doing fine.
I think you're doing okay. At least it's not like Briana, who we're about to see.
This woman's been burned so much that she wants to literally burn her tubes out of her body in order to prevent this from happening again.
Which is what she tells Shirley about. She's at this luau place playing darts and talking about taking out her tubes. She's just going to burn them things out. She has to track down Lewis because she needs a paper of consent to take Stella anywhere. Apparently, when she tried taking Stella to Canada, there was a whole stink about Lewis not having a letter of recommendation.
Yeah. I guess Stella's last name is Lewis's last name, and you can't travel with children that are underage that don't have your last name without permission from the custodial parents. And this man's on the birth certificate, we find
Yeah.
out. I didn't really realize that she didn't put Devoyne on Nova's birth certificate, but she put Lewis on Stella's birth certificate, thinking
Yeah.
that would make things better for her, when in reality it's just made things very difficult. I think Lewis would have been long gone if they didn't need stupid stuff like this.
Well, that's why Lewis signed it. You don't remember the whole infamous basketball scene where Devoyne went to go play basketball, and that's why he's not on the birth certificate.
Well, yes, but see, that's not real though. Like, I
True.
would
That's
always
what Devoyne has said.
if she was asked here and today, she might be honest. My opinion, theory, conspiracy, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Bree was ever going to put Devoyne on the birth certificate. Basketball, no basketball, present, not present. It was just a good excuse. She probably told him to go play basketball if he did go play basketball.
She's smart for that. I always said before getting married that if I'm to have a baby with somebody, they will have my last name unless I have someone else's last name. So that is how that works for me. So I think that's smart, especially with Nova, with both of them. She should have did it with both of them. I don't know why she did it with one and not the other, but
that's the part that gets me. Just be consistent.
You were smart enough when you were 16. You should have been smarter the second go around.
Right. Maybe she just second guessed herself because she was 16 when she made that choice. She did the right one then.
Lewis was already absent by this point after the cheating stuff.
Lewis was never present. He was a literal stranger. That's why I thought the title of this episode was about Bree and Lewis, because we've never met that man. We've never had anything close to a being Lewis.
What is there to be?
Nothing. He's like a figment of our imagination. This guy doesn't exist.
Exactly why Stella don't want nothing to do with him. But
nothing. I don't blame her.
But Lewis is coming to Brianna's house to sign some paper. And Brianna lets Stella know, which poor Stella, she's walking in from school, I take it, or something. And everybody's just like, so Stella. Her grandmother, too. And her grandmother walks in. She's like, Stella.
I know.
Poor kid.
Love precious are you.
I thought somebody would have died or something the way everyone's approaching her.
I know. She could tell that Roxanne, when she came in, she was trying not to make a big deal out of it, but obviously everybody knows why they're there, and it is unusual for Lewis to come around, so everyone is on edge. You can't hide it.
So Brianna says to her, if you want to see him, he'll be here in a little bit to go to his paper so you can go to Japan, which I'm thinking is for Brittany's wedding. I don't know why they're not just saying that, because I'm pretty sure Brittany got married in Japan. Possibly. But that would also fudge up their timeline, because I think she got married in September. But, since when is a timeline?
All the girls following the same timeline. I haven't heard anything about Brie talking about Thanksgiving yet.
Oh, it was just for Thanksgiving. That's what I'm saying. That I think that's why they're not saying where they're going for why, because I think Brittany did get married in Japan, but I could be wrong. Or she could have got married later than I think, but whatever. Anyways, who's to know? Stella does not want to see Lewis, but she's a little bit curious about him. He's coming here. It's like Voldemort. You don't say his name.
I feel bad for her. The way that Roxanne described it to Lewis when she was in the car with him later on, I think was very accurate. She gets excited and sad and confused, and she cries and she laughs. It's like she was feeling all those things in just the hour before he showed up, and that's a lot for any person to take, let alone a little girl who has no control over the situation and what the adults are doing. So this was kind of sad. She did ultimately decide that she did not want to see her dad. She was worried that he was going to feel bad about it, but I think Brie and Roxanne just barged herself into the room. But I think they did a good job of helping Stella to feel okay about it.
What was her whole role there? But Brianna calls her over to pretty much be here for this event.
I think she wanted to help because she said, can you come in case things go badly? And I wasn't thinking go badly between her and Lewis. And they're not very volatile. So I think she was here maybe to provide some emotional support for Stella if Stella had a hard time.
That lady was just getting up in her business. She's just like,
I mean, it's grandma. They're close. So I get it. Grandma was dad for a while, up until they moved out, which was only a couple of years ago. They were all living together, so they have I think a particularly close grandparent relationship. But I hear you. Roxanne is just all up in everyone's business. They're listening. And when Lewis comes over, he gives some gifts, which I thought was nice, and he brought some for Nova too, which is important. At least the man has a brain about that, so that was a good thing. He didn't
Still
come
in the same
empty-handed.
sweatsuit, but
Yeah. He came with his letter. He came with some gifts. Bree's ready to have this conversation start and finish within 1 minute. And Roxanne always has to stick her nose into things. She's like, give me a call when you can, will ya? And Bree's just about had it with her mom. She's like, why don't you guys just talk right now? I'm going to go.
and then they talked, and
And then they
Roxanne
talked.
is just trying to plead with this man to stay in touch with his daughter and her
know.
daughter and check in on his kids. Like, how
And
much
he
do you
said
guys have to hear the same thing from this man over and over again, and he still doesn't do anything?
And not, apparently he can text Stella if he's saying he's going to text her, because he also refers to, I'll also stay in contact with Bree more consistently. How many times have we heard this? And also, you can text Stella and you're not reaching out. Why in the world would you just randomly start?
I don't know. Roxanne
You're
has to
not.
feel like she did something here.
She's something else, though,
If he's
maybe.
not doing it now, there's no you asking him. Her grandmother came to me and asked me to keep in touch. I'm going to start doing it.
And do you think this is the first time that Roxanne has came to Lewis and said, hey, stop doing what you're doing and be involved? She probably said that to Lewis every single time she's came in contact with Lewis. She says that to Devoyne, and he's existentially more involved, so much more involved.
Yeah, what she's trying to say without trying to say what she's trying to say when she talks to them a lot of the time, like especially with Devoyne a few episodes back with the Noah's going to be 13. You know what that means?
Yeah.
It's like, what,
What is-
lady? What
I
does it
know.
mean?
It means so many things. What are you trying to say?
You know, without a father, she's just going to be thrown to the trenches without a father.
She's not. I know it's going to be great. And so is Stella. I just wish Lewis would stay away.
I felt really bad for Stella this episode. She's kind of waiting for him to come by, do this, and leave just so she can resume her day.
Back to her regular life.
That is sad. And it's sad that she doesn't want to see him, but it's her own choice. If he makes her uncomfortable, there's nothing that's going to change that. Like you said last episode, that it's time to just do something about this man. Take away these rights.
He seems to understand. I mean, I know it's probably a whole different thing from hearing, she doesn't want to see you, to she doesn't want you to be her father anymore. But
Yeah.
I think he would understand at this point. I think he knows, I hope at least that he has enough sense to know he's not willing to be in this kid's life. It's not that he can't. It's not anything. He's literally not willing. So let her go.
He's like with his other kid, because he does have a whole other kid somewhere out there. I don't remember if they're older or younger than Stella. I just wonder how he is with them. But he didn't seem very shook that Stella didn't want to see him. In fact, he almost looked a little bit relieved, like, oh, good, I don't have to be a creepy, weird guy staring at her and not know what to talk to her about.
I'm sure it's uncomfortable for him as well.
He's like, here's your paper. I'm going to go get me a smoke and
Yeah.
go to the club. Because you might be my blood fam, but in the club, we all fam.
We all fam. So Roxanne comes in and, she makes a good point. She asked Bree if it was a good idea for her to tell Stella that Lewis was coming on such short notice. But Bree also makes a good point and says, I don't want to tell her these things too quickly in advance, because then when he doesn't show up, then it's a disappointment as well. So she's kind of stuck in an impossible position, I think. Roxanne is really holding her feet to the fire in this conversation, and I don't really get it. I don't understand, honestly, what else Bree can do. I feel like it's just lip service for Roxanne to be like, well, it's not just up to him, it's up to you. Well, what else is up to her? She's doing everything.
She's going to handcuff the man to the door handle and
Right, or force Stella to see her dad when she's refused to for the last year and plus. No, that's weird.
no one needs that egg head shaped man around.
No,
And he's not doing anything for anybody.
No,
And if
especially
Stella's
not when Devoyne is around, and not like he's around all the time and consistently, but when he is around, he takes in Stella just as much as he does his own daughter. I know that Stella's always going to need her dad, and there's always going to be a gap there, and Lewis just disappearing is not going to make that disappear. But I think it's going to make it so that there's a lot less questioning and trauma, that it's just a closed door, and she can develop relationships with other healthy men.
I mean, I get the sentiment here, but if Lewis makes this girl uncomfortable, then forcing him upon her is going to be the worst thing you can do. Poor Stella, she just has to go through this so publicly. I feel like anytime the camera's around her, she's just like, nope, I ain't messing with that man. I ain't. Y'all, every time you guys come around, that egg-headed man shows up at my door wanting something.
Yeah, I think Stella's gonna be a lot like Brittany, where she just tells it like it is. She doesn't really have a lot of a filter. I think she's sensitive, and it makes sense. But I think she's gonna have a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's gonna be a little spicy firecracker, I think, in 5-7 years.
Stella's been through it a little bit in her short life. I hope Nova sees the difference between Devoyne and Lewis and is a little bit thankful for having the lesser of those two evils.
I know it's still probably hard for Nova, and she's entitled to feel, her feelings about her dad. But you're right. I mean, it's so much different. Not even just that he is involved when he is there, but he's just so much more normal. Like he just can connect with them, and Lewis is just so creepy and weird.
It's just sad that Stella would probably respond to every single one of Devoyne's texts,
Oh, I bet.
It's just sad. I mean, Devoyne's not perfect, but nobody is. It's time to get rid of Lewis.
It's time to get rid of Lewis and her tubes. She's done with all of it. She wants to prevent anything like this from going on in her life. At first I thought it was kind of a little dramatic that she was going about it this way, but I really understand it now. Every day she has to deal with the absence of somebody or the mess ups of somebody, and she is doing, I think, the best that she can, and I think she's doing a great job, but that she's never going to be able to fill in those gaps on her. I mean, why would you want to add another kid to that? It's obviously not going to be with one of those two men, so now you have another one to add to the mix. Even if you're married and happy and find the love of your life, you'll find the love of your life that's content with your family.
What a better way to be content than to repeat your mom's history. Just keep your two girls and live in Florida with them.
And never have another man again. I think Brie, I would be shocked if she got married and rode off into the sunset with somebody.
I like this ending.
I like Brie the way she is right now.
What's for next time?
For next time, Aaliyah's going to learn how to drive, and Leah is terrified about that. She brings up muscular dystrophy, as she always does, and I don't really know how that plays into everything, but I know that a lot of people with physical disabilities learn how to drive, and there's just kind of different tools that they can use and stuff like that. We'll see how that goes. I think that's going to be interesting to follow. Amanda and Ryan are going to move in together, I think, into their new house, and Ryan's going to talk to Bentley about how he can come over whenever he wants, and I think do some apologizing again. Amber is back. That's all about Amber. Mackenzie is also going to be in this next episode. They talk more about the pregnancy in this next episode, so I wonder if we'll hear more about the divorce, and hopefully that it was just I found the paper, everything's okay, woof, back to the pregnancy. Please, I hope that is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then Cheyenne is going to be back this episode because she has that contract to be in every single episode. So she's going to be upset. Yeah, she just wants things to be working the right way.
It's like her storyline is shifting from Ryder's health to fertility every other episode. What is going on with this woman? Why are we?
She keeps talking about things being a whirlwind and all that, and I was kind of thinking in my head, what are you really worried that much about? But I think that's probably is a mirror of what's going on. She wants to have a baby, then something happens with Ryder. Then she wants to start having a baby, then she can't have a baby. Then something. She probably does feel like she can't win right now.
Yes, but the amount of screen time this woman is getting is
too much.
Too much.
Too much.
I haven't seen Caitlin and Tyler in episodes.
I know. Or Jade. The only time we saw Jade this season was for her mom's stupid intervention. Well, so it's probably boring, but there can't be anything more boring than Leah scenes. This episode, at least. Well, thanks for sticking around, Chick Chatters. This episode was kind of a doozy. I'm hoping that we're revving up for a nice arc before the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we don't just fizzle sputter out like this. That would be disappointing. But either way, I'm glad that you guys are here. So
there will be a reunion as well.
So we will see you next time, Chick Chatters. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. Hit the share button. Honk the horn.
Sorry, there's a train. All right, Chick Chat. Well, remember to like, subscribe, share, reduce, reuse, recycle, Briana, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.